Why do they call you meat?
You really want to know?
Meet, she's only a freshman.
Yeah, but after this, she'll be an instant senior.
And welcome back to the Retro Review. I am the Bearded Geek. Joining me as always is Mikey the Freak,
What's up?
Steve,
Hey!
and Bebo.
Hi.
Today we are going to be reviewing the classic movie Porky's. Bebo, why don't you tell us a little bit about this movie?
So basically, in 1954, a group of Florida high school guys try to help their buddy lose his virginity, which leads to them seeking revenge on a sleazy nightclub owner and his redneck sheriff brother for harassing them.
Okay, yeah, that's about right. What'd you think of it?
I didn't watch it.
He got his line in. He got his line in.
I thought it was hilarious. This is not your typical teenage movie that we're used to. This was done back in the day when things were a little different. But it's absolutely hilarious to me from start to finish. I would say it's definitely something you have to watch. It's not something someone can just describe for you.
But we're going to do that on today's show.
We're gonna try it. We're gonna try our best. Moving on, since Steve is pretty good at this. Steve, what are your thoughts on the movie?
Oh man, I absolutely love this movie. This is a real coming of age film from one of the most. It really is. It's a coming of age film. It's a film that young growing boys can figure out what they like in life. It's getting smaller. This movie is so funny. It's a bunch of 20-something year olds playing teenagers as they've done throughout time, from one of the most diverse, and I really say that in the most literal sense, one of the most diverse directors. I'll just ask now, Mikey, are you going to touch on Bob Clark on Related Reels?
Not Bob Clark specifically. No, you can go ahead.
Okay, so we'll just Bob Clark. Such a great guy. So you get in 1981, you have Porky's, right? 2 years later, you get one of the greatest Christmas stories of all time from Bob Clark, A Christmas Story. And like 7 years before that, you get the original Black Christmas in 1974. Man has done horror, man has done comedy, man has done holiday. Bob Clark is an amazing director. I love all the shit he did. He also did Baby Geniuses and the sequel to Baby Geniuses. No, I love Porky's though. It's a great, silly, classic, raunchy film of comedy and nudity, which, you know, who doesn't love that? Boring people, that's who. Mikey, what did you think of this movie?
So Porky's, just a kind of brief history. Porky's is the first movie that I've ever seen Bush, and a lot. There's so much
like
wool
George?
you could have knit a sweater.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
Like a hair,
yeah,
like
George
like
Bush.
a
Yes.
like a hair pie, like a hair pie.
Oh, straight up, like yeah,
See,
exactly.
for me, Revenge of the Nerds is the first movie that I remember seeing Bush in.
So yeah, I mean, you figure, we're a bunch of high school seniors, and all they want to do is talk about sex and get laid. So they talk about orgies, and it's one of those movies that, yes, you don't want to be a young age to watch this. However, I think I was like 12 when I saw it. So,
Makes sense. Home
You know
Alone
what?
with
Yeah.
HBO.
You're like,
Home Alone with
Porky's.
HBO.
You're like, oh, I'll watch Porky's, and like, wow,
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't have watched this. Mama's not around, is she? So yeah, funny. It's like I said, it's all about them, and then they go to Porky's, and Porky kind of screws them over, and then you got Mickey that is, wants to retaliate and go back and kick his ass because he humiliated him in front of everyone. And, it's one of those where I don't know. It's a fun movie to watch as an older adult, but one of those sneaky movies that you want to watch when you're younger. But
I just really quick have to say
Yeah.
I was watching this movie with my father when I was like 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
That's about
My
right.
but my father was a horse of a different fucking color. So
But it's funny. There's so many comedic parts. The scene with it's supposed to be the big gangbang and out in the woods. Where
Jerry forever. Jerry
J-
forever.
So they play gags and pranks on each other with the egg. They smashing the egg on their head, the raw egg, and then and they always pick on Pee Wee. Pee Wee always gets the brunt of most
Nights
of it.
turning around already.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's good. I love the movie. It's one of my favorite movies of the 80s.
I won't say it's one of my favorite movies of the 80s. It's a good movie. It is a coming of age movie for sure. I found this movie had no plot, but it was just basically watching it just to watch the girls.
High school
Yeah.
kids want to get laid. That's it. That's what the plot was.
I would like to say that there's a plot. The plot is the revenge on Porky's from the actions taken within the first 20 minutes of the movie, coming to a culmination of them getting the revenge and then getting the paid iota from the Angeltown sheriff.
Okay.
This point of order has been brought to you by.
Well, I think the plot was muddled, and this is just me. This is just me.
I just gave you an exact what the plot did.
And Porky got
when you're
look,
watching
and
this
Pee Wee
movie.
got laid at the end.
Yes, he did. Yes, you did.
That's
But
the whole plot.
I get it. But for me, this movie was
was already wearing a rubber. And this movie's so quotable.
It very is.
I just keep giving you one-liners.
And
the sequel is just as fun. The sequel is just as fun. So saith
Both
the
of 'em.
shepherd.
So saith the
flock.
I got you.
Get the flock out of here.
For me, it was still fun. It was still a fun movie to watch. But like I said, I felt that there was no real plot. But that's just me. So let's just go ahead and go into ratings. Bebo, what would you rate this movie, sir?
I know it's small. Quit looking at it. I would rate this for me. I would rate this. I'm gonna give it a 7.
Is
for
that
myself.
with the bump? Is that with the
That's
like a
pre-bump.
4-point bump,
That's pre-bump. It's
4
pre-bump. Okay.
4.
I would give this movie a 7.
Yeah,
More than 4.
But due to the amount of everything in this, I am gonna bump it up to an 8.
I got you. That's
All
fair.
right. 0.5. So an 8.5
That's
for this movie
shot.
with the bump. Yeah, with the bump for this movie, it's like, I don't know, a 15.
Cherry Forever,
Going
Dick
from a
Shot,
7 to a
5.
15. But no, this movie, it always makes me laugh every time I watch it. It's absolutely hysterical. It has a fucking plot. I really love the movie from start to finish. What about you, Steve?
This is a great movie. Solid plot all the way around.
All the way
Absolutely
around.
I love the plot of this movie.
It's a great plot.
I was at an 8 before the boob bump. So with the bump, for me, that bumps it up to a 9. I was at an 8 before. Like you were at 7.5, and I was like, oh, you were like 7. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then you bump it up to the 8.5, and I'm like, that's just great. So with the bump, it bumps it up to a 9 for me, just because this movie is extremely quotable. The more you think about it, the more you can.
Yeah.
Are you calling her a dog? You fuck that, and you get arrested for fucking food. There are so many great things, and there's just so many fun things. I love it. This movie is just so funny. You can't find it anywhere, but this movie is really, really funny. So for me, it's a 9. Mikey,
Yes, yes.
what's your score? What are you thinking?
So I love this movie. I laugh every single time. Almost every scene I'm laughing at something small here and there, whatever it may be. Yeah, quotable, definitely a quotable movie. From every character has something that they always say. I like the King Kong, call him King Kong rubber. The rubber's like this big. Um, but yeah, it's one of those where I was at a 2, and then I have a 6.6 to a 7 point bump with all the wool. But I love it. I'm giving it a 9 just because. I mean, shit.
Is that with the bump?
Yes, a 9 is with the 7 point bump. And then there's like 3 plots in this movie. There's Pee Wee getting laid. There's the revenge on Porky. And then there's the revenge from Mickey and Mickey's brother, which was the cop from Angel Beach.
And you can also have
and
you
the
have the
coach.
subplot. You have the subplot of Kim
Yeah.
Cattrall.
Oh yeah, Lassie.
Lassie.
Gotta have
You-
Lassie in there.
You have a subplot of Tommy and Miss Ballbricker.
Oh yes.
Very
So
true.
there's
And then
another.
Very true.
That's
The
a
coach-
plot within. That's a
the-
plot
the
within a
coach-
plot. That's 2 subplots
Yeah.
within 3 actual plots.
So the
So
coach
five
had
five plots, if you will.
Porky gave Coach the scar on his face, so he wanted to get revenge on it. So who wants to know about that plot and that story back then?
That's a
That
prequel.
backstory.
That's
prequel.
Porky's prequel.
That's a pre-plot. It's a
The
pre-plot
year
to the plot
before.
with the subplots.
Porky's the year before.
Bearded
That's
Geek is
what-
hating us right now. But yes, I'm I'm giving it a solid 9. It's definitely not a fun family. It's definitely not a family movie. But it is definitely a comedy. It's funny. You got so many quotable lines. A great movie. Watch it once and definitely recommend both sequels. They're just as equal hilarious. So yes, solid 9. Bearded Geek.
So I'm staring at.
Okay. I apparently did not like this as much as you guys. I'm giving it a 6, and then with the bump, I'm giving it a 7. It's I'm giving it a 7. It's a fun movie. It's funny. It's funny, but I found it to spin its wheels in a lot of areas. I found it to go nowhere, and there was no strong character development. There was character development. Pee Wee got laid.
He says he was watching a spinning wheel, but isn't that what a wheel does? It's like a hamster. It just stays in place. It's not going to go anywhere.
They got like they had race in there, like racist stuff. They've got
It was very biggity. It was very racist.
It doesn't exist in movies.
You're
anymore.
you're such a dumb racist. You can't even say it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it did have all that. I just didn't find it as. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it as much as you guys, I guess. But I mean, that's why we all do this show. Everybody has different opinions. I give it a 7. I would not recommend this to anybody but a teenager. I mean,
12-year-old.
Yeah, 12-year-old who wants to go
pre-pubescent coming of age film.
There you go. Yeah, but that's really about it for me. Bebo, do you happen to have any fun facts?
I got a few things here. So this was actually the highest grossing movie in Canada for 24 years.
No, Jesus Christ.
As of 2010, it is now 3rd highest, having been beaten by Bond Cop, Bad Cop, and Resident Evil Afterlife. But before then, it was the highest ranking movie. Yeah, dude, I'm just saying.
Way off.
Wow. Canadians don't do movies well.
No, that's because Bob Clark is a Canadian treasure. You imbecile.
And the studio, this is the next one. The studio did not want to make A Christmas Story, but allowed it so Bob Clark would make the sequel, Porky's 2, the next day.
True.
Okay.
And then Bob Clark, just a little backstory with Bob Clark. He stated in the DVD commentary that he used his real life high school and college experience as the basis for various characters and compares himself closest to Pee Wee, Billy, and Tommy. The other characters were based in real life, on real life friends or people he went to school and college with.
All right.
That's it.
Cool.
That's how you make movies. It's all about yourselves. Autobiographical almost.
I do not have any movie memorabilia for this. Steve, how about some soundtrack for this movie?
Woo! Soundtrack credits. You get Mockingbird by Patti Page. You have Lovesick Blues by Hank Williams. You have Till I Waltz Again with You by Teresa Brewer. Only You by The Platters. Why Don't You Believe Me by Joni James. Maybelline by Chuck Berry. How High the Moon by Les Paul and Mary Ford. Wow, there's actually a lot more in here than I thought there was. Other big hits, Shaboom Shaboom, Earth Angel, Cold Cold Heart, Your Cheating Heart, Good Night Irene, Tennessee Waltz Anytime, Edie Tide, and How Tide the Moon. I said that one though. So there.
Sweet. Mikey the Freak, how about some related reels, sir?
Yeah, that's a lot of 50s songs. That's good.
It was.
Great soundtrack if you like oldies. Great soundtrack.
Well, they help you understand the plot.
Well, they're old to you.
Fucking A.
I get it. He made a Back to the Future joke. They're old too, but your kids are gonna love it.
All right. Yeah. Not a lot of movies these guys have been in that anybody really recognizes. They really took a lot of C-list actors and made this movie, and I think that's really what Bob Clark's known for. Not a lot of A+ actors that you really are aware of or any other movies, but Tony Ganios. I say it's probably Ganios.
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 Do not call him Ganios. If you call him Ganios, he'll go, "What the fuck is with this Ganios thing?" It's pronounced Ganios. Ganios. And I know that because I mispronounced his name to him.
Oh, that's you like that. Just a couple movies he was in. Die Hard. He was in the movie Die Hard. Yes. And Rising Sun. So yeah. The one that I really recognize was Scott Columby. I think I'm pronouncing it right. He was in Fame, and he was also in Caddyshack.
He's gonna live forever.
Yeah,
he's gonna dance.
I loved him in Caddyshack. It was good. And then I did do Alex Karras, which is probably one of the most recognizable names now. Probably not really then. Victor Victoria, which was actually a pretty good movie. And Blazing Saddles. I loved him in Blazing Saddles. It's a good movie. And then, of course, Susan Clark, which was Cherry Forever. Her and Alex Karras was in Webster together, and also in a Made in America movie together. So they kind of worked together a little bit later on in the 80s. That's it. Cool. That's all I really got.
All right. Well, as we come to a close, Steve, where can people find you on your podcast?
You can find me on The Last Podcast You'd Want. That's available on every major podcast outlet and available on YouTube. Fun fact that I'd like to throw in about Tony Ganios. In Rising Sun, he plays a character named Perry, which is actually supposed to be the same character from the movie The Wanderers, in which Tony Ganios got his first start. It was his first big movie. So that's just a fun fact and it is Die Hard too. You can find me on The Last Podcast You'd Want. Tip the field, try the staff. Thank you all for coming. And if you didn't, better luck next time.
All right, guys, you can find us on most major podcasting platforms for your ears. And if you are listening to us there, find us on YouTube for your eyes. And if you are on YouTube, please do all the YouTuber things. Give us a good old thumbing. Hit that like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell us what you thought of this movie. And if you have a suggestion for future reviews. All right. That does it for this episode of Back to the Retro Review. I am the Bearded Geek. So for Steve, Bebo, and Mikey the Freak, keep it retro, everybody.
Peace.
Yep.
Ah!